Now, Britain's lack of tariffs on Chinese cars helped drive up sales last month. 1 in 10 cars sold in the UK in June were made in China. Around 19,000 cars made by Chinese-owned brands were sold last month, making up 10% of overall sales. That's up from 6% in the same month a year ago. Now, sales of new brands from China, such as BYD, JQ and Omoda, are growing rapidly, joining more established Chinese-made brands like MG and Polestar. Daniel Harrison is an automotive analyst at Ultima Media, and he joins us now. Thank you so much, Daniel. Good to see you. So, BYD, Omoda, JQ, they've made a dramatic entrance into the market this year. What's driving their rapid success in Britain? Is it just about the absence of tariffs?
It's mainly the tariffs, the fact that, the UK doesn't apply import tariffs, unlike the European Union, which imposes tariffs between 17 and 35%, depending on the car brand. But it's also about the zero emissions vehicle mandate that the UK has, which compels manufacturers to, I think, for 2025, to produce or sell 28% of vehicles that are zero emissions. So they get heavily fined if they don't meet that mandate. So, in essence, manufacturers are deliberately keeping prices artificially low to meet that mandate and to avoid those heavy fines.
And how are the legacy European and Japanese brands responding to pressures from Chinese competitors?
With difficulty is the simple answer. Their cost base is significantly higher than the Chinese imports. So what they're tending to try and do is to either develop joint ventures with Chinese operations and actually import them back to Europe, believe it or not. So in many cases, they're trying to establish these partnerships with lower cost brands and transfer the technology and achieve those lower vehicle prices to try and compete with the Chinese brands.
So 1 in 4 new cars sold in June were electric in Britain, so EV sales are up 39%, but private demand is described as being subdued. I mean, comparatively, how well is the UK doing with its switch to electric cars, and what might be getting in the way?
Lots of intertwined questions there. I'll try and do it quickly. So within the context, overall UK sales are down because of the decline in petrol and diesel. So relatively speaking, yes, EV sales are increasing as a share of that percentage. I mean, they're still increasing, but not quite as fast as the zero emission vehicle mandate requires and the ultimate goal of zero emissions by 2035. The challenges are legion. You have prices being prohibitively high. Consumers are very reluctant to spend 20-30% more on an electric vehicle than a comparative ICE vehicle. The charging infrastructure, we know that the range anxiety are all there, and what's now called the charging anxiety, that fear of not being able to charge somewhere and running out of electric power. So there's and also the very high depreciation and the maintenance costs and the high insurance costs. There's a lot of issues there that deters consumers from buying into the EV transition.
And do you think that the UK could learn from other countries where incentives for EVs have made a bigger impact, perhaps?
Absolutely. I mean, obviously Norway is one of the leading examples of very high EV adoption, and they made it, there's lots of purchase incentives. They made electricity very easy to obtain. The charging infrastructure was very good. So they have an almost complete EV adoption in that country. Germany, until very recently, had a very strong EV incentive or purchase incentives and stopped them. And of course, EV sales collapsed. And until about, I believe, 2 years ago, the UK also had a purchase incentive on electric vehicles and PHEVs, which it then stopped. And of course, that saw a drop in EV sales at that point. So purchase incentives are very important, but also the wider rollout of private or public charging infrastructure is absolutely crucial to convince consumers.
Daniel, really interesting to get your thoughts on this today. Thank you so much. Daniel Harrison from Ultima Media.